God has a good and beautiful purpose for human sexuality. Even when it doesn't feel that way, it's true. It was created with intention, with meaning, revealing something about God and about us. And as we learn to trust Him with our sexuality, it draws us closer to Jesus. This is the Christ Centered Sexuality Podcast. We're glad you're here.
All right, friends, welcome back to the conversation. Again, we're so glad that you're here. We've been, in the last couple episodes, looking at Genesis 1 and 2 and focusing a little bit on God's design for human sexuality. And now, today, we're actually going to start talking about Genesis 3.
Oh.
And how we navigate a Genesis 3 world. And for those of you that maybe have never read Genesis 3 is where we see the fall happen, where Adam and Eve sinned for the first time. And that had ramifications then throughout all of the rest of
humanity,
history for forever.
All of it.
And so today we're going to be talking about what happened and what was broken because of it.
Yep.
And so this is Christ Centered Sexuality Podcast. Sexual brokenness is really kind of where we're going, where we're headed. So when we talk about sexual brokenness, SJ, what do we think about first? And maybe who do we think about first?
I mean, if it's me answering this question, I think historically and even for myself, I have always thought that my brand of sexual brokenness is at times, I guess, the only brand of sexual brokenness, or the worst form of sexual brokenness. So there's probably two different ways of thinking of it. Is that there are people who are not. So there's two implications with that, I guess. Is like there are people in the world that don't have any sexual brokenness then, based on my own thinking, which past thinking, not
past
current.
Thinking. Yes, that's good.
And then so there's that, but then there's a hierarchy of sin then, that there are certain sins that are worse than the others, in particular sexual sin. And so just in my experience, I have I don't know if like anyone has intentionally, I don't know if I know people that have, but intentionally said you are going to hell for being gay, right? And so I don't know, or I either have blocked that out. I've maybe have heard it like
to your face,
not to my face, yeah. So I maybe have heard it
but
in the general church teaching,
yeah.
and maybe I've heard it in general church culture growing up, but no one has said directly to my face, "You're going to hell." But even as I'm kind of processing that now, I have had some people take my brand of sexual brokenness far too seriously and like told me like I need to deal with it, and if I'm not dealing with it, then that is probably like I'll never be able to have a relationship with Jesus. Like I have had people say very harsh things, I guess, as I'm thinking about that.
Well, and when you say far too seriously, what do you mean? Do you like
that it's I guess maybe that's maybe not the greatest term. They treated it like the most important sin, like if I don't deal with this sin issue or this issue of my whatever, then once I deal with that, then everything will be okay. I guess maybe is a way that I would maybe.
Do you feel like it was ever compared to other, sexual sin or other things that it was like, well, this form is okay, but that form.
Yeah, no, that's beyond. Yeah, no, that's a good clarification. I think, yes. Okay. I think I, growing up in the church, you know who is engaging in premarital sex. That's a very formal way to say it. I don't know. You just know. I knew people who were sleeping around, and they were Christian, and there wasn't a lot spoken about how to navigate that behavior, like calling that sin.
Yeah.
And say, like, I mean, they would
This
call it
wasn't
sin.
a huge concern.
It was just, we were comfortable with it because it was, dare I say, heterosexual
or
sin
normal.
or normal.
Yeah.
But I heard a lot of narratives like surrounding LGBTQ and being gay that was the worst. That people felt very sorry, like I could never struggle with that, and these poor people that are like condemned to hell, like for being gay, and so there was like a lot of that narrative. Now, my story, I didn't have the self-awareness at the time or the language for my own story when I was a teenager to know that, like, oh, I was same-sex attracted in that time. I have that now, and I have that perspective now because I have the language.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have maybe an episode about more of my story and unpacking when I found like how all that fun stuff. but I knew I wasn't. I didn't have like this obsession with boys. I think Gregory Coles talks about this. He's like, I was so spiritual because I didn't have these overly lustful passions for the opposite sex. And so he thought he was like just super holy. And maybe that's probably could describe me. Like, I didn't have these overzealous, lustful, I was never boy crazy.
Yeah.
Like that in my teenage years, that never was my experience comparatively to some of my friends that were, female, and I just wasn't.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know what the original
No, it's
question
good.
was,
I mean, you touched on some of who do we think about first, and for you, it seems like in your experience, the church body kind of put the LGBTQ in without, I don't think at that point we really had that language for it. But
the gay community,
in that category of like, oh, they are
the sexual
broken.
They're the sexual broken ones,
Yeah.
and they need Jesus.
Yeah.
And
us
heteros who are navigating an addiction to porn were totally good. That is sarcastic, by the way.
Yeah. And I think whether that was actually truly felt,
sure,
or whether that's just what was ignorantly portrayed, that became, I think, a narrative for many people, not just for you.
Yeah.
And so I think it's touching on something where it's like, even for us as believers, when we're talking about sexual brokenness and when we are thinking about that, are we looking at ourselves through that lens first and foremost, or our tendency is to look outside of ourselves first and be like, it's them over there, whether they're gay or whether, they're just somebody who's.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're saying, like, that could like fall into any, because I've heard that narrative just in regards to sin. When we create a hierarchy of sin, like, I'm so thankful that I don't struggle with blank sin. Or if a sin is confronted or named in church and maybe we're talking, the pastor or the community or small group is talking about like, hey, like, this is something we need to navigate and surrender and ask for forgiveness for this blank sin. I think that there can be an automatic narrative that says, oh, that isn't me. Yeah. I think a careless phrase that is unhelpful is like, I could never struggle with that sin. I think that's it's problematic. To me, it is a little bit arrogant that a human being who by nature is fallen could say, oh, I could never struggle with that sin. I think that I would,
or even just statements of like, I just don't understand that.
Yeah. You understand, if you sin, you understand sin. Yeah. Like, you understand brokenness, you understand struggle.
And I think there is maybe some validity to the fact that maybe somebody doesn't understand the attraction to the same sex. And that's okay, but I think the way that we say it, there's either a desire to understand and be a safe space for people, or to be very judgmental and not hold grace for the fact that people are different, you know, and I think when we're talking about all of us, maybe even looking at ourselves through a lens of sexual brokenness, whether you don't have to wrestle with porn or be same-sex attracted or even to be walking necessarily in a sinful lifestyle to be sexually broken. I think that the reality is we are all touched by sexual brokenness because we live in a fallen world. And it affects us because we live in an over-sexualized society, and we see all these things, and we have to navigate how we walk in this world around us, you know?
Agreed.
So, why do you think it's easier for us to see brokenness in other people?
I mean, I think, I think that question, I think, even goes beyond the sexual brokenness or sexual sin question. Like I think as humans, we are just so quick to see brokenness and sin in other people before we look at ourselves. And I think, I don't know if that's a result of the fall or a part of human nature, or even the way the enemy will like leverage us against one another and cause division. Because it's really, I mean, when we can quickly judge someone for their actions or their sin, then and we don't look at ourselves, like I think that that can cause relational tension, division, and those kinds of things. And I think we have to actually work hard as humans. And maybe I'll speak for myself. I have to work hard at having the self-awareness and looking at my own sin before, or full stop. Like before, I have to look at my own sin before looking at the sin of others. But then I have to take care of my own sin issues, and I have to submit my own sin issues and pursue holiness and forgiveness and that kind of stuff. And then I need to love others and I need to extend grace to others. It's like, and maybe, I mean, I think it's a different conversation when we talk about helping people kind of maybe see some blind spots, whatever. But I think that's a totally different conversation. Like I need to hate my own sin and be aware of my own sin, and then surrender that and ask the Lord to help me with it. And then I need to love others. Yeah. So I think that, but it's just, I think it has to be just something the enemy leverages. Yeah. It has to be a part of a result of the fall. Yeah. But I think it's so easy to see mistakes and sin and poor behavior in other people. We have to work at seeing it in ourselves first. Yeah. So.
It's really true. I mean, I'm thinking of my kids and how I feel like I see, even in my oldest, she is hilarious and wonderful, and yet it's so easy for her to point out things in her brothers that they're doing the wrong thing, and yet not look at herself. And I see myself in that all the time, you know, and I don't know all of what causes that, but I think sometimes it's like we are quick to call other people out, but it's uncomfortable to look at the things that we are doing that are the same. And so whether it's pride or that, there's comparison, or I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's like that old, but it's like when you're pointing your finger at someone else, there's three pointing back at you. But if you watch any TikTok, like they'll say this phrase, but then they'll like point with their whole hand, like, like whatever, like they'll just like whatever. It's like, and so that's what I've started to do. Like you just point with your whole hand, and then there's no fingers pointing back at you. But it's, I think it has to be a result of and fall and strife, like what just division that the enemy uses. Because if we can spend our time, we're never going to grow ourselves if we're too busy looking at other people.
That's really true.
B, we're never going to cultivate healthy community if I'm constantly like poking at you and you're like, what's that going to do for our relationship? If I'm always like, Katie, you know, you need to work on your laundry list of items here.
I mean, I do have one. A long
same
list.
girl, same. But like that's not going to cultivate friendship or community or
yeah,
trust,
that's
you know?
true.
So I just think that it is and unfortunately, I think in some of maybe our brothers and sisters that really struggle with legalism and looking a certain way as a Christian, like I think they it's something to work on, because it's like the bar, we all have, I'll stop talking about that now, but yeah, it's if we struggle with this expectations that people need to be sin free and need to always be working on themselves, and I'm gonna be I can't remember who said it, but I'm gonna be the Holy Spirit's helper and point out people's sin. I can't remember who said it. I want to say it was Lindsay when we were out
I want to say it's Lindsay too.
when we were out in
Pennsylvania.
But yeah, no, we are not the Holy Spirit's helper.
Yeah.
You know, he is our helper to help us figure out our own sin.
And sometimes I wonder if it's a misunderstanding of how much we need Jesus.
Yeah.
I think that there is sometimes a desire that can come from a good place to help people choose a better way. But I think when it either stems from a lack of knowing God's grace the right way for ourselves, we can't extend that grace to other people. Or if it comes from if it comes from a place of fear, then we also get a little aggressive because we're fearful of what might happen for other people if they choose certain things. And yet, I think sometimes we actually have to relinquish a lot of control in those times to really trust God with a process that people are in. Yeah. And that can be really hard. We want to be in control.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, you look back on Genesis 3, ultimately what happened was Adam and Eve wanted to be God, you know?
Yeah.
And so that desire for control and to be God of our own lives and probably God of other people's lives happened at that point too. Yeah. So.
And I think, I mean, even Jesus says it. He's like, we're so quick to notice the speck in someone else's eye when we have a plank in our own. Like, I think that captures it. So we're so willing to see, like, kind of put other people's lives under a microscope and see how messy and sin-ridden their lives are. And then we're refusing to look in the mirror and see that we have a massive plank / sin problem in our own lives that we're unwilling to address. But I just
so then when we're looking at navigating a sexually broken world and our own sexual brokenness and even helping other people navigate that, it sounds like we actually have to start navigating our own sexual brokenness in order to even have any ability to help other people. Yeah. So what does that look like? And maybe what we need to do is define what we mean by sexual brokenness.
Yeah, I mean, so my definition of sexual brokenness is anything that is outside of God's design in Genesis 1 and 2. I think we spent the last podcast kind of going into it. And so, and the scriptures actually do help us because they do give a list of do's and do nots as far as the sexual, our human sexuality goes. A lot of those, I think there's a complete list in Leviticus 18 and Leviticus chapter 20.
What about in the New Testament?
New Testament, it's going to be Matthew. I mean, anytime I think flee from sexual immorality. This is really interesting. Flee from sexual immorality is actually one of the, or in some form is in, I think, majority of over half of the New Testament letters. Like there are strong prohibitions and calls. I think it's in 1 Thessalonians, actually, chapter 4, where it says, "This is the will of God, your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality." And so
1 Corinthians talks about it in chapter 6.
Yeah, and so abstaining from sexual immorality is a common thread through the New Testament. And sexual immorality is defined, like you can define that as anything outside of the covenantal marriage sexual relationship. I don't know, there's got to be a more concise way to say that. But it's basically like anything that is not covenantal sex is sexual immorality. If you are having sex and it's not with someone that you're committed to for your entire life, then it's sin. And sexual immorality to the Jewish mind, if we're talking to Jesus's audience, when Jesus says that you abstain from sexual immorality, the Jewish mind in his audience of that time would have defined sexual immorality as Leviticus 18 and Leviticus 20. They would have been like, oh yeah, we know what sexual immorality is. It's everything listed in those 2 chapters, which, by the way, includes things like adultery, bestiality, rival wives, coveted, all that stuff. And so, yeah, sexual immorality is and abstaining from it is a main theme in the scriptures.
Yeah.
Old and New Testament.
That's good.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean, you can get specific too. Like there are, I think, 9 exact prohibitions on, like, I don't have them memorized, but when I talk about it, like you can actually break it down to 9 forms: adultery, lust, sexual coercion, exploitation, sexual violence, same-sex behavior, not attraction, bestiality. Yeah, there's 9 different prohibitions that the Bible is consistent in and repeats.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so that is kind of our definition of what sexual brokenness is.
And it's simplified. It's anything outside the Genesis 1 and 2 design.
Yeah. Now, there's a reality that some people have willingly participated in these things, and some of these things have happened to them. And so, and I think the fact that, again, we live in a sexually broken world, and so we're all navigating this in some way, shape, or form. And so,
no, and that's an important clarification. Like, we can choose to engage and indulge in sexual immorality. But then it does happen to us. Like, we can be the victims of it. We can be the victims of someone's choice. And there are varying degrees of intensity to that and abuses, and that is just something that should grieve us all, and that is the reality that we live in, a sexually broken world.
It's difficult too, because I think whether those things have been a choice or happened to us, sometimes because of what takes place, it can actually stir desires that then are hard to combat and hard to navigate for people. And so for those that find themselves in that place, I think there's so much grace.
Yes, absolutely.
From the Lord in that. And I think, what would you wish to tell somebody who's navigating some of these things that maybe you wish you had heard when you were younger?
Someone's just navigating like sexual brokenness,
or just things that it's like it feels like it's outside of their control, and yet there's a wrestling there that they're struggling with.
No, I really appreciate that clarification, because I think there can be a myth out there that I, like, in a sense, I am choosing to be same-sex attracted. Of all the things that I could choose, I'm not sure I would choose this. I like, and I've made peace with it after years of trying to pray it away and that it not going anywhere. But I think this is something that I developed into a same-sex attraction, like many people do. I always like kind of like flipping this back on, because it's always seems to be the gay people that choose their sexuality or choose whatever. Do you remember choosing to be straight?
No.
Yeah. So thank you for, and so I think we have to remember that now. That gets us into the whole other thing that, I mean, there are traumas, there are things that can happen that can cultivate different sin patterns, I think, that can happen. That's part of it. That's not a part of this conversation, but I just want to make sure that, yeah, it's a broad thing, but I think I wish, if we're talking about like, what do I wish someone would have done different with me? Is that the question? I mean, I wish I would have heard I wish I would have heard you when I was like a teenager or in my 20-somethings. I can't remember. Maybe I was 20-something when you said that to me, but
late 20s.
Late 20s. I'm 29 now. No, I'm kidding. But I think when I was opening up to you and sharing my story with you, and specifically the same-sex attraction, I was coming. We gays have a language for it. It's a coming out moment for an individual, and it's very personal. And we were just having a moment of vulnerability in our friendship, and I told you I was attracted to the same sex, and I was navigating that. I was very early in figuring out my journey with that, but you responded to me with something so profound, and it was shocking at the beginning. And I think if you want to hear more of this story, I think we elaborate a little bit on the reality podcast when we were out in Pennsylvania. We talk more about it, but you said to me in that moment, be like, hey, just so you know, I don't see your sexual, and you said sexual brokenness specifically. I don't see your sexual brokenness any different than my own. And you had been vulnerable with me, so I knew kind of where you were at with your own brand of sexual brokenness. And that was like, that was one of the most profound things that anyone could have said to me, because it fully leveled. I'd never heard that before. I had always thought that I had the worst form of sexual brokenness. I thought that, because of that, like, I was like unfixable. I needed like this massive intervention from Jesus to help me to restore. Like, there's just a lot of things that go when you think you have the worst form of sexual brokenness. And there's a lot of baggage that comes with that. And so for you to say that as someone who's straight, and that was, I think I wish I would have heard that kind of language, maybe not directly at me, because I didn't have the self-awareness or the language in my teenage years to kind of talk about this stuff. But if we had talked about like, and that's kind of what we're hoping to do in this episode, is like leveling the playing field of like sexual brokenness is a human condition. We are all touched by it. There's not one that's better than the other. I mean, even though we wish like, okay, I have very strong feelings about how much I hate things like rape. But like God's forgiveness is deep, and his redemption is deep, so like there's just no worse. We're all sinful. We all need Jesus. We all need him radically. We need the radical love of Christ. And I just wish that someone had leveled the playing field for me in my teenage years and said, hey, we all are navigating, and you can even zoom out from sexual brokenness. We're all navigating brokenness. We all navigate sin. And I think I grew up in a culture where, a church culture, that did have a hierarchy of sin, not even just with sexual brokenness and sexual sin. They had a hierarchy of sin in general. And there are some forms of sin that were worse or better than the other, which is like name a better, like, I think it falls in line like pick the lesser evil or whatever. It's like, okay, well, so I think I think that would have been helpful for me. So
well, and that contributes to so much of like people feeling on the outs and ostracized and alone, and there's so many things that happen when people feel like their form of brokenness is unredeemable, or so much worse than others. And
I think that's the thing is I think that was a piece of it is I did feel unredeemable or outside of God's or Jesus's redemption.
Yeah.
Like if we make sin this huge thing, this big and I think we need to take it seriously, but if we make it so big that it's outside of God's grace and the redemption of Christ and the power of the cross, then we're missing something, because Jesus, the grace of God, the cross covers all of it, and he's bigger than all of it.
Yeah.
And he's a redeeming God. And I think we have to just be careful, I think, and how we talk about sin's power. It does play a role. It is a force.
Yeah.
But if we're going to talk about how powerful it is, we need to triple how much we talk about the power of Christ. It's just like God, it is so much bigger.
Yeah.
He's so much bigger than any sin I will commit. Now, it doesn't give me the freedom to continue to do it.
Right.
But if we're going to talk about the power and the impact of sin, then we need to talk about the power and the impact of the cross.
I mean, that's the hope.
So,
that's the hope that we have. And that's what draws us to him, is the fact that, he is more powerful than that.
And I think that was a big thing for me as well. And I wish I would have, I wish someone would have helped me focus maybe, and I don't know what the right language is here, but focus less on my sin issues and more on Christ. Does that make sense?
No, that's really good.
Because I was so focused on getting rid of my sin, which is fair. That's a valiant effort, but I think I got focused in maybe some wrong ways and unhealthy ways, in the sense of when I would pray for God to take, and it wasn't just my same sex attraction, and that I would pray that God would pray the gay away, as there's a common term out there, but when he wasn't taking it away, I found it did some damage to my relationship with him, because if he's not taking it away, then why aren't you answering my prayers? Why aren't you taking this way? Am I too broken? Are you not big enough? It actually caused me to question some pretty profound things about his character. But when I shifted my thinking and I kind of took my focus, okay, I have this brokenness about me, and I have a lot of brokenness. That's one thing, but when I focused on him and cultivating a relationship with him, so many things shifted in my life. And I watched, or I experienced what it's like to have the Holy Spirit come and aid in things like self-control and grace, and cultivate things like self-control. And self-control isn't just getting rid of the thing; it's learning how to self-control. It's learning how
replace
to
it with something.
and replace it with something else. And sometimes I think we as humans, we want God to solve the sin issue by taking away struggle. Yeah. But I'm not convinced that cultivates resilience, or
it also doesn't cultivate intimacy with him, in the sense that we need him. And if he just takes things away, then he kind of turns into this genie in the sky who's there at our beck and call. And it again kind of puts us in the position of almost being God, where it's like, okay, you're there at my beckoning to do what I want you to do, rather than saying, God, I am in desperate need of you to do what only you can do. Yep. And as your created being, I will depend on you. Absolutely. Rather than myself. Yeah. And I think that is where that intimacy and that relationship falls into the right alignment, which is hard and it's painful, because it goes against everything that we are naturally bent towards in our sin nature.
And I think you're spot on with me. It did cultivate there is a dependence I have on the Lord that I have now after shifting my perspective from begging and pleading in sometimes cases for God to take this struggle away, to now, what does it look like to pursue God through the storm and through the struggle? Like, it's cultivated a dependence that wouldn't be there had he just snapped his fingers and taken it away.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that at the end of the day, that's what he wants. He wants our dependence to be on him, not because he magically makes things disappear, which he can do, you know, like he's capable of it and he's big enough for it. But I think what I see God at work because he makes beauty from ashes, not because he stops the fire in the first place, right? Like, he actually is able to take hard things, dark things, painful things, sinful things, and use them to create something beautiful. And like, that is a God I want to serve. That is a God worth following and depending on. Because I know that my struggle with what God can do with my struggle is produce something really beautiful. And that's what I look forward to. And I think that I've seen that. I'll see it fully, you know, when we get to eternity. But I see windows of it, of the beauty that it's cultivating now, here and now, and it is actually beautiful and worth continuing to cultivate that dependence on him.
Do you feel like in that dependency you've even seen, because I would think, I say this because I feel like this in myself and in the ways that I've had to depend on the Lord in this way for myself too at times, it's cultivated the ability to trust him in other areas of hardship.
100%. Like, I think not, our lives are not compartmentalized or isolated. Like, we're holistic people. Like, what's happening, like, and for me, and maybe it's because I'm I don't know what, but I can't compartmentalize. I can try, but it's like, if for example, if we're having conflict, I cannot keep that here. Not that I'm whatever, but it's like, it's going to affect my day. Like, it's going to affect my ability to focus. If we're having relational tension, or we had an argument, or we're not getting along, or whatever, which rarely happens. I mean, we do. Like,
but
we have our moments, because we're fallen human beings. But I have that I can't, and I would think that it's the same. Like, they're just, when God is moving in an area of our life, like, it will just kind of seep and overlap into every part of our day, the good and the bad, you know. But I think no, it's and it builds faith for other things, right? Like, so it's like, okay, I've seen God show up for this. If he shows up for this, then he must show up for this, or I bet he will. And then won't he do it? Won't he do it? Won't he do it?
Preach.
So
no, that's good. That's really, really good.
But
yeah. So I think even in what you're saying with navigating a lot of those things, and even what you wish that you had heard from other people, how can we then be people of safety for those who are also on this journey? I mean, I think we definitely need to look at ourselves first, and really, I think, probably get to a place where God is able to speak encouragement and life and grace over us. Where do we turn if we're not able to hear that from the Lord? And how, if we are able to hear that from the Lord for ourselves, how do we extend that to other people?
Oh man, that is a really, really good question. I mean, you're kind of saying it. We have to start with ourselves. Like, we cannot expect to be able to extend grace or compassion or forgiveness to others if we have not experienced that ourselves. I really do believe that. Now, it doesn't mean that, like, we're not incapable. Like, until I figure out my crap, I'm not going to be able to help you. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I think first and foremost, like we need to be people who pursue dealing with our own sin in radical ways.
Yeah.
And if we're, and especially in this conversation of human sexuality, like, shame on us if we think that our sexual sin or sexual brand of sexual brokenness is more holy than our neighbors. We all are navigating brokenness, and we are navigating sexual brokenness. The question is what is it? And I think we actually do need to ask and welcome God's conviction into that.
Yeah.
I would say especially like in the area of, I think in the area of like our minds and lust, and I think to get practical a little bit, and I don't want to like, but we have a massive porn problem in the church right now. And we need to deal with that. Yeah. And what is it going to take to deal with that? Well, it takes, I mean, we have to admit that we have a problem. I think we have a massive objectification problem, which I would put in the category of lust. I would say like we need to start naming this and dealing with this and having the self-awareness to say, I am treating a human being like an object for my own personal gratification. And so I think we have to. I would say too,
there's even for those that maybe are not wrestling with pornography and objectification, all those things that maybe feel like, oh, well, I'm not really struggling with that. I think there's this aspect, and I can say that I've experienced this even being married. What is my perspective of my husband and what he's there to fulfill for me, you know, and is my perspective in my marriage one of really being a picture of the gospel and serving and loving sacrificially and giving my life for another person? Or is it you're actually there to meet all of my needs and my wants and my desires? And so it could be as simple as something like that too, that, you know, causes a rift in our sexual relationships or our marriages. And so it doesn't have to even be.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. Like, I just think if like we need a level, like we just need a level of like just looking inward and welcoming, and it's, we just did a series at church called Dangerous Prayers. And I don't know, but like one of the dangerous prayers you can ask is, the Lord, seek me. Like that is like if you understand what that, like that is a dangerous prayer to ask. But I do think that there's something, Lord, seek me, because what sin is in my life? Where am I struggling? Where am I not dependent on you? Lord, seek me. And I think we have to start there, because I don't think if you don't start there, you can't get to where you said the phrase, like, I don't see your sexual brokenness as any different than mine. I don't think a person actually gets to that place without having a deep understanding or realization of their own sin. I think we do have to get to a place of understanding the gravity of our own sin, that will help us know that, like, oh, once I understand what I'm capable of doing and the sin I'm capable of falling into, you know, how dare I judge anyone else, you know? And so I think it has to start there. I have a lot of, I'm very quick to be more trusting of someone that doesn't spend their time pointing out other people's sin, but like really tries to talk about, like, I have my own, like, they're very inward thinking of, like, they're very, like, when it comes to sin, they very much trying to sort it out in themselves. And when it comes to other people, they're very much trying to love and help people navigate their, I don't know, like, it has to start with, Lord, seek me, you know, and what am I capable of as a human being? And it's, I mean, that's a dark road to go down. We don't want to spend a lot of time going down that road, but I think we have to be honest with ourselves of what we're capable of. We have to be honest of the impact of, if you were the only person on this planet, Jesus still would have had to go to the cross. And it, like, whoever the only person, like, whoever's listening to this or watching this, whatever, if you were the only person on the planet, Jesus still would have to go to the cross. You know, what is he going to the cross for? Is it your self-righteousness, lying? Like, sin issue, like, or sexual brokenness, like, what is it, you know? So I think that can carry some weight. So we want to be aware of it. We don't want to stay there because we want to, again, the cross is bigger.
Right.
So it's this tension that we're always,
I
don't know if I answered your question.
No,
but.
I think you did. I'm part of that. I don't even know if I remember what my question was, but.
Well, and I think even if we're talking about, I think there is a rift between the church and the LGBTQ community because we like to think that they have the monopoly on sexual brokenness. They don't. No. Humanity has the monopoly, and here's the reality: if you cannot, like, the church should be the place where the LGBTQ person who is seeking the Lord can go. Yeah. Where else are they supposed to go? Yeah. And if they cannot come into your church and get a holistic gospel, hear some of the messaging of hear the gospel, and not be considered the worst person in there, because like they're not going to come. And the statistics show that, like, I mean, that's a different episode, but like, what do we need to do and shift? What do we need to do, and what things and language do we need to shift so that when and if the Lord touches the heart of an LGBTQ person and they walk through the doors of your church, what are they going to hear from the front that's going to help them find and pursue Jesus even more radically? Yeah. What are they going to hear that's going to hinder them? And I think what will hinder them is if they hear constant bashing of their sin, without taking into account that we're all sexually broken. So that's a very specific issue, I know, but we have to figure out how to love people who need Jesus.
Agreed. I think that's really important and so true. And I think, I don't know if we have much more to say about those things. I think that for all of us, we're navigating some form of brokenness. And so maybe the Lord is highlighting something in your own life now. And if he is, then we encourage you to press into that and ask the Lord about it. Trust that he loves you and he wants to extend that love and that grace to you. And so, we just encourage you to press into the Lord. And if you have more questions about how to navigate different things and don't have a community around you that you can talk to about those things, reach out to us. We would love to hear where you're at and just walk with you. Yeah. So,
and here's a final thing. If we don't know what to do or don't know what to say, we feel awkward or uncomfortable or whatever it is, and we notice someone that's maybe you notice sin in someone's life or notice sin in your own life or whatever. What you notice sin, Romans 2:4 is God's loving kindness that leads us to repentance. And so at the end of the day, you don't have to have the right words. What does kindness look like? Yeah. How do we be kind to people? How do we be kind to ourselves? I think, like, what does because I think we can condemn ourselves as much as we can condemn others. What does kindness look like? And it's God's loving kindness that is going to lead us into repentance and lead us into a restoration of relationship with him. And so just, what does kindness look like? That's always my thing with this. When we're dealing with brokenness, we're dealing with sin, we're dealing with just the hard parts of humanity and being human and the human experience. Man, what does kindness look like? Yeah, that's good.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us, and we look forward to having more conversations. Take care.
Thanks for being here. If someone came to mind while you were listening, share this with them. And wherever you are in your journey, keep trusting Jesus. He's leading you somewhere good. We'll see you next time.